All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to definitely the first time we've started recording episode 22 or 23 or whatever this is of Grim Scenarios. I'm so bad at Alex right now, and he's just sitting there laughing.
She's pretty mad at me, everybody. I'm sorry.
Anyway, as I was explaining the last time we tried to record this episode, which was about 15 minutes ago, we forgot to be prepared this week. We just literally were not prepared. We hadn't even picked a script to cover when we sat down to record, which is about 30, 40 minutes ago at this point.
Not that long ago.
No, because... Anyway, we hadn't done our homework. We were behind, blah, blah, blah. You don't care. We weren't ready to actually shoot an episode of Grim Scenarios, but we knew we wanted to record something. We were sitting here, starting to talk about what we were going to do, and we remembered that so, as you may know, Grim Scenarios is, I guess, published or produced maybe by ECG, Everyone Can Game, the Twitch stream and YouTube stream that, Alex hosts their Tuesday stream. I'm an occasional guest host on. We both sort of started in the Clock Tower streaming community on ECG. We also sometimes run script contests there. And after a bit of a hiatus from our script contests, we ran another one. It's called Back to Basics. No, that's one of the scripts we're going to talk about. It's just a base 3 remix script competition.
Yeah.
You have to use the only base 3 characters. We banned all the Kickstarter characters, all the experimental characters. We said, go away. We don't want to see those. We want to say what you can do with the base 3. Anyway, we also hadn't really done our homework on grading the script competition, so we said, how about we combine our two failures, our failure to grade the script competition and our failure to prepare for this episode, into a special episode where we grade the script competition sort of live. But we're actually not going to do that. We're not going to come out of this and declare a winner. We're just going to talk about some scripts and some interactions and some strategic problems.
Yeah. The big thing we wanted to do was look at some really live examples of how when you're writing a script, and especially using the base 3 characters, the design of a script can be, messed up by very, very small things. There are some really particular pitfalls that you can run into that, quite frankly, don't happen on the base 3 scripts. And as Emma and I were talking about earlier, before we kind of started recording, one of the things that doing this competition reminded us both is how well balanced the base 3 scripts are in terms of the characters that are on each of them. Emma, I think, mentioned that the scripts were designed as a whole. Each script was designed as a whole. So Trouble Brewing was sort of designed and balanced around the things on Trouble Brewing. Sects and Violets was balanced around the things on Sects and Violets. And Bad Moon Rising was developed around and balanced around the things on that script. Whereas the experimental characters are kind of designed to be on custom scripts and live in the sort of whole space of all Clock Tower characters. So in putting together this competition, we created a deceptively challenging contest in which you had to really balance characters that were difficult to balance against one another across multiple base 3 scripts. So the requirements were to only use base 3 characters, and that's what we're going to. That's the scripts we're going to be looking at. We're going to use these scripts as examples of interactions that we think are interesting and good, and really have something that's kind of well thought out and interact well. And we're also going to point out some examples of things that don't interact well. And we want to be really clear that we're not a script being mentioned or not mentioned on this episode of the podcast does not mean that we're going to choose that script as a winner, or that we think that script is bad. We're using these as live examples of interesting interactions and of the things that we look for when we're selecting scripts for games that we're going to run or trying to grade a contest. You've kind of asked us about this. I mean, we've gotten a number of questions from the community, or I've heard them, and I know Emma's heard them, that you kind of wanted us to cover some questions about script writing. So that's what we're going to do.
One of the things that I wanted to cover was some sort of classic characters whose absence or presence has a real big effect on the script. And from the base 3, there's really 2, I think, that fundamentally change how I look at a script, and we're going to start with a script that we quite like and has both of these and shows some of the strengths and pitfalls of putting these characters on your script, which is called Stilling the Heart. And let's talk about this first of these big uh, problem characters, and that's the Vortox.
Oh yeah. So the Vortox, of course, has the ability that townsfolk abilities yield false information, and each day, if no one is executed, evil wins. Now, one of the things that's important to remember is generally characters from the same base 3 script are probably going to interact pretty well because
Mhm.
they are on the same base 3 script together. So Vortox classically works great with Seamstress. It's interesting with Savant, right? It works well with Oracle. Those are all characters that are on the same base 3 script with it. So we're not going to really talk as we go forward through these scripts about on-script interactions. We're going to talk about
Yeah.
the off-script interactions.
And as we talk about the Vortox a few times tonight, I want to be very clear. It is literally my favorite demon. I love the
It's great.
Vortox. I love what it does for a script. It has a lot of problems, but it
Mhm.
also, its absence sometimes has a lot of problems. Like Vortox is one of those characters that either needs to be on your script or it doesn't. And when it doesn't need to be there and it should, it's a glaring issue with the script. And when it needs to be there, when it needs to be there, it might mean that some characters you wanted on that script really need to go.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a character I really like with Vortox, which is the Librarian.
Pop a librarian in there. Nice.
Librarian, Librarian, much like its cousin Washerwoman, and relies on a lot of the basic TB interactions, spy, drunk, to a lesser degree, poisoner, to make it balanced. Like if the librarian just, if librarians are just consistently seeing the saint every game, and there's never any risk that that saint is a spy bluffing, or that the librarian's drunk and it's really the imp, or the librarian, like librarian just shoots up in power level, and evil doesn't really have a way to combat that because they can't reliably bluff a librarian confirmation.
I think this is generally why we don't see Washerwoman just show up on a lot of custom
Yeah,
scripts.
people think that librarian doesn't have the same problem as Washerwoman because it's just an outsider. It's not as big a deal as if you confirm an outsider, if you confirm a townsfolk. That's mostly wrong. Like
Yep.
when you put librarian on a script, you need to think of, all right, how does evil either cast out on the librarian confirmation or bluff a librarian when they don't have a Grim Peaker?
That's right.
And Vortox is one of those ways. So I love the Vortox librarian interaction. There's a bunch of things that lets happen. The Vortox lets evil fake librarian confirmation. The storyteller gives evil outsider bluff. They put the librarian right ping on one of the evils. The evil player catches wind of this and says, "Oh yeah, I'm the tinker. That's me. I'm confirmed. Not a Vortox game either." That's super powerful for evil. It also, makes the librarian confirmation harder and look more evil.
Hmm.
You saw Tinker between seat 12 and seat 6. Never claiming Tinker librarian. What's up with you? You just making things up?
Another thing that works really well with Vortox and Librarian is having outsiders that are hidden, right? So, for example, the mutant and the drunk. The Librarian in a Vortox game might see a mutant or a drunk on an evil player, and there's really no way to confirm that, easily.
Yeah.
So it can help the evil team bluff.
And the librarian can even actually be the drunk and just correctly confirm the Tinker. And then through that, confirm that the savant's getting a true and false statement. Confirm
right.
that the seamstress ping between the demon and the gossip is actually a yes.
That's right,
It's
because
true.
the librarian got true information, so it must not be a Vortox game.
Yeah.
But the librarian is the drunk seeing a true ping, because the drunk is the only character that can see a townsfolk token and get true information.
Exactly.
In a Vortox.
Lots to love about librarian Vortox as an interaction.
Yeah. Another interaction on here that's fun with Vortox, Emma, is the monk. Throw a monk on the script here in seat 12.
Oh,
well, that's okay. We can have a monk in seat 4. That's fine. I got it.
No,
we were
both you're both too eager to put
That's
down
right.
a monk.
We love the monk. I'll let you talk about the monk. You were excited about the monk.
No. You were the one who brought up monk.
That's
It's your
true.
turn to talk about a
Well,
character
yeah. So
interaction you like.
monk is a really interesting interaction with the Vortox because when a monk hits an ongoing information roll in a Vortox game, that player is safe from the demon, which means that they are safe from the Vortox's townsfolk abilities yield false information effect, which means that a monk can allow good players to get true information in a Vortox game. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you might not know that that's happening, and it can be disruptive to the good team because you're getting information that isn't consistently coherent or understandable. However, once you solve back that it is a Vortox game, those monk protections are going to yield some good information that the good team can use.
Oh yeah, no, it's really interesting and like, yeah, um,
I love
love
that
the
effect.
monk and the Vortox.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh,
Why don't we talk about a
let's
problematic one?
yeah, let's talk about one of our other problem childs, one of our other classic problem childs on script building generally, the gossip, which is on this script. Oh, the gossip. One of my most favorite roles to be in All Up on the Clock Tower. It's so silly. It's so goofy. It's so funny. Like, love being the gossip. Every time I see the gossip token, I am thrilled.
And
Unless I haven't actually started to play yet and I'm looking at the script and I see the gossip token and then I'm like, most of the time I see the gossip token on the script, I'm like, you probably didn't want the gossip. I know it's fun, but the evil team's going to be crying.
now I can see why this script writer put a gossip on here, right?
Mhm.
I can see why the gossip was chosen for this script because they're looking to provide the good team with some source of information that isn't vortoxable, right? On Sect and Violets, traditionally it's the Snake Charmer. Here they've got a gossip. They've also got a gambler, which can do very much the same thing. But the gossip causes problems because of the play pattern that it generates, right, Emma?
Yes. Uh, the effective issue of what's going to happen here is the gossip is going to maybe be allowed to kill one player normally and then forced to kill itself if it ever gets a second truth because it's so hard confirmed every time when as soon as there's either 3 kills in one night because the assassin also goes or like 2 multi-night kills, the gossip is so confirmed the storyteller really has no choice except for to kill the gossip off because otherwise it's just backbreaking for the evil team. And that just sort of also makes it sadder for the gossip. Like it makes their play pattern, the fun level of their play pattern go down because they know that their reward for gossiping correctly twice is going to be death. It makes it sadder for the evil team because they can't really combat that. Now they have tools on here to sort
Yeah,
of push
there
back.
are
They have
other
a
tools.
poisoner, they have an assassin, they have
Tinker helps.
but that all like requires the evil team to find the gossip, which a good town makes it hard to find a gossip by having multiple people gossip in plausible ways.
It's tricky for the evil team to know when the true gossip has happened or when a false gossip has come from the real gossip, at least fairly early in the game, and that can make those
Yeah.
early game gossips really really tricky to track down. Maybe a poisoner can
So
hit the gossip when they truthfully gossip. I mean, hopefully a poisoner that hears a gossip say seat 10 is the demon is going to disrupt that in some way. The Vortox information doesn't disrupt it, so you're going to have a poisoner hit it. You're going to have the assassin find an answer for it. The storyteller's going to have to use the tinker in a creative way. So there are ways out of it, but it generally needs something that can consistently get extra kills to make it less um, confirmable, right? And has a similar problem, but to a lesser extent because it only happens the one time.
yeah.
So it's a little bit easier to work with. Yeah, I think that kind of
Uh,
is good for gossip for now.
yeah. We might talk about gossip again more later.
Oh, we
Let's talk
didn't.
about something
Yeah,
that's a little tricky with the Vortox and controversial, and then we'll probably move on from this group, which is a
yeah,
poisoner. Uh the Vortox genuinely decreases the power of the poisoner by like sort of making it redundant with several townsfolk. The empath oracle, savant, seamstress, chef, librarian. None of these are changed whether the poisoner hits them or not. It's not necessarily the end of the world. Like,
This
the poisoner
scriptwriter
has a bunch
has
of
things to do before the poisoner to
yeah,
do. They're just looking for something different in a Vortox
yeah.
game than they usually would.
They're looking for a gambler, they're looking for a monk, they're looking for a slayer, a soldier, and mayor. And they have a really interesting combo I like, which is the poisoner can poison the Vortox, the assassin can kill someone to cover that, and it will really mess with the information by giving everyone a day of true information so that even if they solve it's a Vortox game, there's some misinformation tossed in there that's covered fully by the assassin. You can only pull off that trick once on this script, but it's a fun one.
But one time is sometimes enough.
Yeah. Let's talk about one more. Oh, there's one more thing I want to talk about the
Yeah.
script. In fact, this is one of the reasons why we're talking about this script. Fortune Teller Vortox. Now, this is not an unheard of combination, but a lot of times you'll also see it with Legion, because Legion provides an alternative explanation for the Fortune Teller getting a yes every night.
Yeah. The problem is that the information that the fortune teller gets is binary. Like empath still works with Vortox because it can be a 0, 1, or 2. So the information can still get disrupted in some direction, right?
It's also binary, but also targeted. Like if the fortune teller was like, if it was like a flower girl where the flower girl was reading 6, 7, 8 people a day, it wouldn't matter as much that it's binary.
Exactly.
But since the fortune teller gets to focus in on 2 people a day and there can only be one demon, like after 2 or 3 nights, the fortune teller just knows it's a Vortox game, which is really powerful for the good team. Like
yeah.
You probably want a flower girl as your demon detector on Vortox scripts, not a fortune teller.
Yep. It's just very strong between and we mentioned it when we failed to record, between fortune teller, flower girl, and chambermaid, which are really the 3 kind of demon detector, kind of direct demon detector kind of characters. Fortune teller is pretty rough with Vortox because of the way it gets information. You need something else. Could be drunk. Drunk is on here, poisoner's on here, but it's hard.
Yeah, I would much prefer to see Flower Girl or even Chambermaid on this script, because Chambermaid also gets messed up from the Vortox because its waking pattern will no longer be demony. With that said, like this script, probably would play this script.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next thing to talk about.
Let's switch to a script that needs a Vortox, but doesn't have one.
So this script needs a Vortox? Oh, this script needs a Vortox.
Let's talk about why this script needs a Vortox, Emma.
Well, I'm just going to throw a bunch of characters up here.
Yep. Oh, look, a dreamer. That gets binary information. An artist. Oh, I mean, that gets very strong direct information. The flower girl, that's a traditionally powerful demon detector that really works best with Vortox because it can disrupt that flower girl information. Seamstress, literally just find out if 2 people are on the same team. Loves a Vortox. Oh, the Oracle? Finding out how many players are dead at night? Seems important when you have a Zombo and a Fangul.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, with the demon suite on the script is Zombo and Fangul, and with these 5 townsfolk, you just need a Vortox. Like, if it's a Zombo game, which is gonna be pretty obvious a lot of the time, and the Oracle number procs after you execute someone and then no one dies in the night, you're just executing the Zombo again. Literally every time.
Yeah. And there's no fallback mechanism for the demon here. There's no Scarlet Woman, which the Scarlet Woman Zombo is already kind of gross. There's no evil twin to provide some other additional time, right? There's no
mastermind.
It's actually the thing that Mastermind does that is actually quite good is, right, help with that situation. DA can't protect the dead Zomboul. It's rough.
Yeah. Flower Girl, you need the Vortox to make it so the Flower Girl can't just lock in on cutting their Grim in half every day.
Yep.
Same with the artist, same with the seamstress. Like, you need the Vortox to make these are like so much more powerful than like TB information roles. The artist and the seamstress, like artist and seamstress over empath and fortune teller every day. They do what those characters do, but they do it more efficiently and without having to deal without as much risk of exposing themselves.
Yeah.
Like, they need a Vortox as that sort of constant threat of maybe my information is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Dreamer, like, Dreamer without a Vortox is just so hard for the evil team to bluff. And yeah, you have a spy here, but it's not enough. You really need the Vortox.
I think the lesson probably to take away from this is the more S and V characters that you have on your script, the more you need to look closely at Vortox and think, does this need to have a Vortox?
Yeah. And I'm telling you, when it's these 5, maybe you can sneak one of these 5 on there without a Vortex.
I think you can get away with one.
Maybe you can get 2 if you have like the right suite of misinformation and evil bluffs.
The script has Poisoner, it has Drunk, like there's things you can do. It's got Recluse to misregister, it's got Spy to misregister. There's enough to have Seamstress on here, I think. There's enough to have Oracle on here.
You can maybe get away with Seamstress and Dreamer between the Spy, the Poisoner, the Drunk. The
Oracle gets disrupted by Recluse. Yeah, there's some stuff that can happen.
Like, the Recluse can be an excuse for why the Dreamer misfires on an evil character day 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'm the Recluse, so that's why your good at character role for me is wrong. That's a plausible explanation. There's too many.
It's hard.
At this density of S and V characters, you need a Vortox.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. We've got another script, and we got another issue we want to talk about that we've already touched on, but we're going to go into it in a little bit more detail, and that is talking about everybody's favorite, the gossip. Where's the gossip?
Yeah.
Why don't I see gossip, Emma?
Because there's no gossip on this script.
Oh yeah,
you opened up the correct script.
Oh yeah, I have the correct script.
Yeah, I rather like this script, but when I was looking at it, I had a rare complaint, which is feels like you forgot to put a gossip on it somehow. And let's talk about why. This guy.
Oh, it's the Poe, everybody. Everybody loves a Poe.
Poe really likes a gossip.
They really like each other.
Like, first off, like, a gossip lets other demons bluff his Poe. Because gossip really helps juice up that count to a triple kill. Like, when you look at what's on this script to help to help other demons bluff Poe, it's Assassin, Godfather, Tinker, and Gambler. But the problem is that just other than Assassin, these characters aren't reliable killers.
Godfather might kill, but doesn't have very much control over when it kills.
Yeah. Gambler, it can kill once per game, and if that's not the day where Evil's trying to frame the Poe, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Tinker, same storyteller, can do it once if they know Evil's trying to set up a fake Poe charge, but it's tough.
And also, Gambler, Tinker, and Godfather are all very trackable in terms of good knowing where the kill came from. Assassin and Gossip are the kind of 2 less trackable death at night effects, right? If a Godfather gets a kill at night, a player's probably going to come out and go, "Oh, I was the outsider. I'm the reason that the Godfather got a kill." Maybe they don't know because they're the drunk. Maybe they're an evil goon. They don't out it. That's possible. But in general, that's pretty trackable. Gambler is generally going to know, right, that they were killed by their ability or not, or they're going to have a sus, on the person that they've gambled. So there's a good reason to have a Gambler here, and it's kind of the opposite of what we looked at before, where the Gambler probably needed, or the Gossip probably needed to be a Snake Charmer. Excuse me, my Gossip. In this case, we have a Snake Charmer where we probably want a Gossip, Emma. I think we probably want a Gossip instead of a Snake.
Yeah, I would rather see a Gossip here just because of what it does for both the Poe and the Zombuul.
The Zombuul also really wants Gossip because it really wants something to get some kills while it's not killing.
Some other thing you might want to see in a script with a Poe is you might want to be looking for some other explanation for why no one dies if the Poe wants to charge and doesn't have a way to cover. Like, if you have a Poe Devil's Advocate Poisoner game, you have Monk, you have Tea-Lady, you have Fool, you have Sailor. You probably want some sort of global explanation, like a Mastermind. maybe even a minstrel. Minstrel's very hard to make work, so I don't want to sound like I'm advocating for a minstrel.
Yeah, we are explicitly not advocating for people to put minstrel on non-BMR scripts. It is very hard to make work, and I know a lot of people put it on their scripts for this competition, and it's always a challenge when we see minstrel on a script to really figure out, does this work or not. It just has so many interactions.
But I do think if you flopped maybe Assassin for Mastermind and Snake Charmer for Gossip, I think this script would be a little more robust in my eyes. You would have a lot more replayability.
Yeah, I think it's quite good. Like it's nicely balanced. There's a lot that's good here, but there's definitely a need for a gossip. I think especially, and maybe something to explain no Night Death.
Which I think I would incline to be Mastermind for Assassin, especially like there's like Barbers are relatively awkward, with the Assassin.
Yeah, Barber cycling Assassin is a little bit different than Pit Hag cycling Assassin.
I also think this script probably needs to lose the Barber because Barber is super awkward with his Umbul.
Yep, Barber's Umbul's not ideal.
Like you execute the Umbul day one, the Assassin kills the Barber and the Knight. You swap the two of them, and now you have a dead Assassin who can just lie and wait till the end of the game and stab someone.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
That's pretty brutal.
So, let's pull up the other one of these that we wanted to talk about in terms of the gossip, and that is this script, The Butler and the Goon.
Yeah, we sort of talked about this a little bit with one of the other script, with the first script we covered, which is, I think, still in my heart. What the heck? What is a gossip doing on this script? What? Well, literally. And because I know who wrote this script, I'm just going to make fun of him by name. Walter, why is a gossip on this script? What are you doing here? If you really wanted to gossip, you have an absurd number of outsiders and minions when combined. You could just get rid of one of those and put on a Shab or a Poe, and then you could have your gossip if that's really what you wanted. The gossip kind of makes this script close to unplayable. There's really just not enough deaths for a gossip here.
Ouch! I have a lot of respect for Walter as a scriptwriter. I've played a lot of Walter's scripts. I run Walter's scripts on the stream regularly. I don't know that I feel quite as strongly as Emma does about gossip here. My greater concern here is the combination of gossip and gambler and the amount of confirmation that creates. Yes, Godfather and Assassin are here. Gossip is already super strong, and now you've got a gambler. One of those two, like as a storyteller, I'm really concerned about putting both of those in the bag together, because surely one of those two is going to get some really strong confirmatory information. Yes, there's no Dashi. Yes, there's Poisoner. I don't really like no Dashi with Gossip and Gambler, because a Gossip that never gets a kill sitting next to a no Dashi looks like a really obvious Gossip sitting next to a no Dashi. A Gambler sitting next to a no Dashi that never dies and gossips themselves as the innkeeper. That it's a complicated set of interactions, but Gossip knows what's going on.
You really need multi-kill demons for Gossip to work. You really, really need multi-kill demons for Gossip to work. I really cannot emphasize that enough. Like, you need some way to have that Gossip be disrupted. You either need it to be able to be pushed aside as a Shabloth or a Poe, getting their extra kills off, or you need, like, poor Nodashi over here in seat 8 is just going to be pummeled by a Gossip over there in seat 2.
I would like to gossip that the demon is in seats 5, is between seats 1 and 6 clockwise inclusive.
Also, a lesser problem than the Gossip, because almost everything is a lesser problem than the Gossip on custom scripts. This is really our trio of misinformation. Recluse, for the math. It's really just these two. Reckless can do a little bit of work for the math.
Goon
can do a little bit of work, but it's not enough. Like, if the math number is higher than if the math number of when you're just sort of with this little other reasons for math numbers to proc.
It's tough.
It's tough. It's tough for a no dashi. You need probably some other evils that cause misinformation.
I think just an additional demon, and specifically an additional demon that gets multi-kill, Shab or Poe, helps a lot.
Yeah, even a Shab who had more chances to proc math by hitting an Innkeeper Protect or a Mare, I think would help a bit here. Or the Goon, that's another way to proc it.
Mm-hmm.
You need non-traceable poison misinformation for a mathematician. A Philo could also help here. Philo and math often work well together.
Yeah.
You just need something else besides, it's almost forces you to put Poisoner in the bag.
And with
regardless.
With 5 minions, with 5 available minions, it reduces the chances of Poisoner actually being in the bag, but increases the chances of no dashi being in play.
Yeah, and you really you really need to always put Poisoner in the bag, and then the question is, what's my second minion? What's my third minion? If I'm playing a 2 or 3 minion game, the mathematician is sort of forcing Poisoner to be in there.
All right,
or drunk, I guess.
There's some possibilities. Anyway, let's take a look at one which I think we both agreed is a really creative script, and that is the script.
Yeah, and why is this creative and interesting? As I'm sure our editor, I'll put up the Fable tab, and I'm furiously moving my mouse around the Toymaker Fabled as I speak. I'm sure our editor will have some other flashing sign because that is obviously.
I've moved it into a space where hopefully the editor can do something interesting with it.
So Toymaker. Toymaker is a fable that we don't see a lot on Grim Scenarios or ECG because it's for teensies, and we rarely ever talk about teensies. The demon may choose not to attack and must do this once per game. Evil players get normal start info. It's designed as a way to in teensies, in scripts designed for games for less than 7 players. The evil team doesn't learn each other by default, and the Toymaker isn't, and that's for balance purposes. It just makes it too easy for them if they know each other. So instead of knowing each other, so they lose that as the balance mechanism instead of getting rid of the minion. But the Toymaker undoes that and instead balances it by forcing the demon to take a breather one night. And the author of this script said, I know the Toymaker is only for teensies. I know it has no purpose on a full-size script. Let's do it anyway. And I just had to comment on something that was creative. That was that interesting and that creative. We've loaded up this script with reasons for fake Toymaker nights to happen too, which is super interesting.
Yeah, we've got Exorcist, we've got Innkeeper, Soldier, Minstrel. Yep. We've got a Goon, right?
Yeah.
Mastermind.
If the demon sort of suspects that it might be a Minstrel night, they can fulfill the Toymaker condition on a Minstrel night.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty useful.
It's really interesting. Yep.
I like this script a lot. It has a lot of fun things.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. I think there's a lot of interesting things that can happen on it. I do think, to some extent, that there are a couple of interactions I'm not excited about on it that I think are
I'm pulling up some characters that
problematic that don't necessarily work very well. Librarian doesn't really have a whole lot of disruption. Washerwoman doesn't have a whole lot of disruption.
Yeah, it's these TV characters that are sort of bounced around the existence of the spy. These three are my big problems with the script.
Yeah,
is these 3 characters really work in conjunction with the spy. And there's no spy here. I don't really think there's room for a spy here. I guess you could add it as a 5th minion, but then I'm not always a huge fan of that. But I wonder if there's something we could have done other than these 3, and maybe it's a limitation of
base 3.
The base 3. I think maybe if we allowed experimentals, I can see the Undertaker turning into a cannibal, the Watchwoman turning into a pixie. And then my concerns here, are a little reduced.
Yeah, and I will say that as I make my notes on scripts, as I do script analysis and as I do script review, I often find with these contests that we run that I put a note on a lot of scripts that say you should revisit this, not within the limitations of the competition. Like the limitations of the competition have made this script not as good as it could be. I think this script could be really good and something that I would want to run, but it needs to have access to other characters.
To be clear, I already really want to run the script. I think it's hilarious. I love the concept of the script. I think getting away from the restrictions, particularly with these 3 characters, would help. Because I think these 3 characters are just going to be real rough for good, evil. I think there's not a lot they can do. If you're the evil team and you're just in there going, oh yeah, no, that player's just good. They're the Undertaker and the monk's protecting them every night, and I don't know who the monk is. It's pretty rough.
I have a problem with the inability of the evil team to. I actually think this script needs assassin. The evil team needs a way to kill through ongoing protections, because once somebody gets pretty well confirmed, they really need a way to deal with monk, innkeeper. They need something to do on an exorcist night, like something could happen on an exorcist. Like they just need something else. I'm also not a huge fan of minstrel with evil twin, because it creates a predictable minstrel night. Maybe that works okay here because of the toy maker and the demon being able to not do it. But I don't love, Good knows that they killed a minion when they kill an evil twin, which means that the disruptive everybody's drunk night, it doesn't do a whole lot. It's problematic there. It really just is bad.
Though I do like twin on the script.
I like twin on the script, but I think minstrel's the problem.
Yeah, maybe we don't quite need minstrel to.
I think there's enough other stuff.
Yeah, I think there's enough other stuff for the toy maker that we maybe don't need minstrel and we can keep twin. A lot of these I think are really also interesting twin options. I think Town Crier is an interesting twin option. It's rough in 1 minion games because the Town Crier's information is just always, oh yeah, he's a minion, she's a minion. But I think other than it's rough for Undertaker for the same reason it's traditionally rough for Dreamer.
Yeah.
But I think other than that, I think these are some really interesting twin choices.
I think the twin is good on the script. I think the minstrel is the problem.
Yeah. So I would say,
and I worry that evil can get stuck in Innkeeper and Monk loops. But I do think this isn't a good. I do think this has a really good.
I really like this script, and I would probably try running it as is because I'm so excited about the misuse of the toy maker.
How dare you misuse the toy maker in this way?
But I do think these 4 characters are the ones I would hope in a version 2 to see replaced by something a little more either bluffable by evil or that worked a little bit better with Evil Twin. Now, like with the Minstrel and Evil Twin, like the it's not necessarily the end of the world. It's only the end of the world if you actually get the twin pair right.
Because if you get the twin pair wrong, you lose. So.
Right, you get the twin pair wrong, and you lose. So there's still that same sort of reluctance to test the twin pair, with unlike some optimization problems. Will still help the evil team is that even though people will know how powerful getting the twin right into a minstrel night is, they'll still be scared to do it because if they get it wrong, they lose.
And there is a funny interaction where if a minion gets killed and you have a minstrel night, and then the evil twin is killed the next night, you have another minstrel night, and you just have like very strange things going on, and the evil twin is drunk for a whole day, so you can kill the good twin. It's there's some weird stuff, but I just
there's some fun counterplay, like the poison. You can flip the goon. The goon can act very minion-y. The goon can get executed. The shab can trigger the toy maker
Yeah.
to bluff a minstrel knight, and then people can safely execute a twin the next day and blunderbuss into executing the good twin. Like, there's stuff you can do here.
Yeah.
There's definitely, it's like even the minstrel, as rough as it is with evil twin, I think the script makes it not maybe as much into the world as other things are.
I think it's
probably
very
still, yeah, it's probably still the wrong choice because minstrel's almost always the wrong choice.
Minstrel's always the wrong choice, and as we'll see here shortly, Courtier is also almost always the wrong choice. So,
but I love this script's name. I love that it just decided to say, "Hey, let's misuse the toy maker."
Oh yeah,
I love what it did with that. I think it's really fun. I think, yeah, I think these 4 characters maybe.
I'm going to bring up Back to Basics, base 3 only version. We both also thought this script was really interesting and creative, and does something kind of interesting and different with a very TB like kind of script.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as I set out, let's put this. No, let's put this. Let's just circle on this particular interaction and the problem it can cause.
Yeah. So does everybody see why this is a problem? Can anybody think about why a tea lady next to a virgin is a problem already, and then Philo next to that tea lady and virgin is maybe also a problem? Maybe that Philo goes virgin, Emma?
Yeah, so this virgin gets executed and doesn't die, confirming all of them. And then this virgin gets executed and confirms there's not even spy shenanigans going on.
How about let's just go ahead. I'm just gonna grab this. I'm just gonna grab this tea lady real quick, Emma, and I'm just gonna move it. I'm gonna move this tea lady over here. Just gonna put this tea lady over here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put one of these here, and let's put we can just put anything there, right? And now this chef can nominate the virgin and doesn't die when they nominate the virgin.
This
This
fool can nominate the virgin
and doesn't die.
And not even use their first life.
By nominating the virgin. Even if the tea lady's not there, the fool and the virgin is already interesting. And yes, these could be characters that get sussed out, but they're next to a tea lady. So that means that they're going to get confirmed eventually,
Evil has a spy and a poisoner. Like, they can fight back at these super powerful tea lady enable combos.
Yeah.
But it just sort of limits what the storyteller can put in the bag. And if the storyteller isn't careful about what goes in the bag, things can get very rough if they go optimization heavy.
Yeah. I mean, you can just end up in a really awkward situation where you've got 5 confirmed goods on day 2 or 3, and their evil team's having trouble killing them off. And evil doesn't have a catch-up mechanic is another thing here. There's no assassin. There's no godfather. There's no multi-kill demon. Evil doesn't have a way to catch up after not getting kills, which can cause a game to go quite long and allow good to just keep plugging away with fortune teller, mathematician, chambermaid. It's tricky. I think it's a really creative and interesting rework of TB with some other interesting interactions. But I think this specific interaction interaction, Tea Lady with Virgin, was on a lot of scripts.
Yeah,
it was on quite.
We want to talk about it. And we will this is again a script I really like and I really respect the author of.
Yep. Yep. We love you, Lachlan. We think your scripts are great.
I do think maybe the Tea Lady's ability to do some combos here are a little over the top.
Yeah, it's a little tough, and I think this really wants a very experienced storyteller to really think about what goes into the bag. I do think there are multiple bags possible with this. I think you can make different interesting bags, but you really need to spend some time thinking about what you put into the bag on with this version of the script. I expect that there is a non-base 3 only version of this script, and I would love to see that.
Well, yeah, since it says base 3 only version in the
Yeah,
script title,
so-
I'm suspecting there's a second version.
So please feel free to send us the second version. Again, sometimes the limitations of a contest make a script hard to make it work. All right, I got another one here for us. All right, one with a title that I really love. Flames on the side of my face. Lovely Clue reference there. Emma, we each had something we wanted to talk about on this script, and you wanted to talk about outsider modification. And specifically, I think we wanted to look at the script and say, there isn't an outsider modification character on here, but there is a drunk.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the drunk as outsider modification. First of all, the drunk is outsider modification. Like, it just is.
Yep.
Like, that's what it does. Like, it adds an extra townsfolk to the bag and opens up the space scene for evil to bluff outsider.
That's right.
The drunk is, in fact, outsider modification. This is one of the reasons why I get very annoyed when people toss Sentinel on a drunk script. Like, if you really think you need more outsider modification than just the drunk, you got to do something else than add the Sentinel, because it's just doing what the drunk does already. They're doing the same thing, but the drunk's a character. This is outsider modification. It's probably not enough. It's It's one directional outsider modification, which is the problem. If you notice, TB and S&V each have multi-directional outsider modification. TB has the Baron and the drunk,
Yep.
which
Up and down.
Up goes up with the Baron and down with the drunk, which leaves you at a range of plus or minus 1, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, technically, it's +2 to -1, but because most Baron games will end up having a drunk in them, it's possible for it not to. But because most Baron games will end up having a drunk, it's effectively like plus or minus 1.
Yeah.
S&V is plus or minus 1.
Vangu, Vigor Mortis.
Either a Vangu or a Vigor Mortis or neither. It's that range. And of course, BMR
Plus or minus
collapses the plus or minus 1 into a single character, the Godfather, which is literally plus or minus 1.
Yep.
Or not in play, and it's 0.
Yeah, exactly. No modification.
So, like, there are scripts that make, like, wider ranges of outsider modification work. There's some scripts that experiment with, like, lots of outsider modification and find ways to make that interesting. Catfishing is probably the most custom in the world, and like, you can criticize catfishing, and I have, and I know Milk has, and other people have. It is a good script. There's a reason why it's so popular, and its theory is sort of just, it tosses on literally all the base 3 outsider modification except for Baron.
Yep.
It has a Fengu, a Vigor Mortis, a Godfather, a Balloonist, and a Drunk. Like, the range of what outsiders are in the bag is from +3 with the Godfather, Balloonist, and Fengu to -2 with -3 with the Fengu, Vigor Mortis, and Drunk. Like,
Yep.
It's a wild amount of outsider modification. You can make that work. I'm not saying, but, like, less than that plus or minus 1 range is really hard to make work.
Yeah.
And this script only has that -1 with the drunk.
Yeah, you need the +1 possibility.
On the other hand, it does have a Stormcaught Butler.
Stormcaught Butler, which I'm excited for too. I do think this is another script where it just needs 1 or 2 maybe experimental characters to help it out, to kind of swap in for some of the things. One of the problems centrally located on this script, in my opinion, is that while the Shabaloth has been added for the purpose of having a multi-kill demon, and I think that's great with Gossip, and that kind of answers a complaint we made earlier. To go along with the Shabaloth, the scriptwriters have added a professor. And,
that's not even what I thought you were going to mention.
Oh, I haven't even gotten to that one yet. I haven't gotten to that part yet. So this is a two-part problem. Problem 1 is the scriptwriters added a professor, and also have on the script a philosopher. And this results in a problem where we can cycle the Philo
Yeah.
and the Professor. That's a problem. That's too much confirmation. That's too many people coming back to life. That's good players coming back to life. That's the Professor bringing someone back to life, dying, the Philo bringing the Professor back to life, then dying, then the Professor bringing the Philo back to life. Right? That's two characters that can literally just cycle each other back to life.
No, luckily there's a poisoner, a spy, an assassin, and demons that can kill on the script to put a
Yeah.
stop to this nonsense.
But it is
But
an
the
issue.
fact that the nonsense is possible is an issue.
Yeah. The other
You
piece
just-
of nonsense that's problematic and is genuinely something that is a problem is Shabaloth and Scarlet Woman.
Mhm.
Because the Shabaloth tokens, the Shabaloth death tokens, get put down in the night. Now, the storyteller wants to bring back to life one of these characters that's died in the night using the Shabaloth's ability. Then the Shabaloth is killed, and the Shabaloth after the Shabaloth dies, the Scarlet Woman picks up the Shabaloth token. These two deads go away, and the storyteller can't resurrect anybody. And if this happens
Yep.
in the mid or late game, and the storyteller hasn't had the opportunity to bring someone back, or has chosen not to,
Normally a storyteller should do their resurrection early, but here's the real problem. Let's bring this Shab back to life. Let's kill that. Kill this. Kill that. So now we're on
back
5
up the scroll.
alive. We'll say dead. Dead. So Mr. Original Shabface dies. We have a new Shabaloth over here. These tokens go off the board.
And now,
And good just lost because they executed the demon.
yep, because now this Shabaloth is going to get 2 kills in the night, and there's no one that can be brought back to life.
But also, what was their other option? If they execute the Scarlet Woman, they also lose.
They also lose because,
But at least in that case, like one of 10 or 9 could have been brought back to life.
right,
To say, hey, I'm not going to let you cheese this victory that easily. But when you execute the Shab, no one can be brought to life. The only alive Shabaloth didn't choose any players last night.
and the Shabaloth can use that effect in the mid to late game as well to kill someone, kill themselves, pass over to the Scarlet Woman, and have the same effect if the story.
Well, yeah, but then at least you have a chance to execute the Scarlet
Yeah,
Woman.
then you at least have a chance to execute the Scarlet Woman. But again, there's a lot of interactions with the Shabaloth that make it not great with the Scarlet Woman.
Yeah, here on 5 alive, again, if you execute the demon, you lose. If you execute a good player, you probably lose. The storyteller can save you with a resurrection. That's really rough.
Yeah. And it feels really rough for evil if the storyteller has to bring back somebody
on Final 5
because the Scarlet Woman caught. Yeah. It's just it's like a pit hag change without any signaling. And that's almost always really awkward.
Yeah, like you have your protection rules in the script, but you probably need a few more to really justify a Shab Scarlet Woman combo, which is hard to justify even if you max out on your protection rules.
We have 2 more scripts that we just wanted to look at interactions on. Let me bring up this one first. One interaction that I saw a bit of, and I don't have a problem with it, but I know that some people find it unfair or unfun, is the combination of Pit Hag and Assassin.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically when you also have Baron on the script. Because Pit Hag with Baron means that basically the Baron does its work, adding in 2 outsiders into the game, which is very, very powerful. I'm very vocal about believing that Baron is one of the, if not the most powerful and one of the most powerful minions, just because it removes 2 townsfolk from the bag and replaces them with outsiders. And then the Pit Hag then says, well, great, I'm going to turn this Baron into an assassin. On this script in particular, the Vigor Mortis can then kill the Pit Hag, letting it keep its ability,
and kill the assassin,
and kill the
letting the
assassin,
assassin
letting
lie
it
in
keep its
wait,
ability.
letting it keep, or like now there's dead assassin cycling that the evil team, the good team has no ability to deal with, and
Oh, can't find the right button. Jeez.
yeah.
Here we've got a poisoned. Here we've got a Vigor poisoned player. Here we've got a Vigor poisoned player. Right, the minions are doing a whole lot. Now they've given up living minions to do this with the Vigor.
But every other night there's an extra
Yeah,
assassination because
but
the assassin's also really efficient with the pit hag because it gets to act again the night of the change.
the night of
Whereas
the change.
like
Yeah,
other minions that have sort of one-off abilities act again the night after the change. So
now
it's
this can be interesting with some other things in the bag. This is a maybe a little bit gross, but a viable way to handle a gossip on your script without a multi-kill demon. The Pit Hag cycling an assassin can create that possibility. Uh, a lot of people dislike this, primarily because the other thing that could happen is a Pit Hag that's alive late in the game, that's never killed any, that's never been revealed or that's hidden very well, can also turn themselves into the assassin, right, and then get an extra kill at the end of the game. But there's a lot of really awkward things that can happen with this interaction.
yeah. Just a few other small notes on this script as we're talking through it. Flower Girl, as we've discussed without a Vortox, is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
You're probably wanting to avoid that. Snake Charmer and Puka's a rough interaction because it's really confirmatory that the Snake Charmer happened when the Puka said it does, because there's suddenly there's a night of no deaths that follows.
Yeah.
Or there's an immediate night of no deaths. So like the the pushback of they could just be bluffing doesn't work as well because the no death after the Snake Charmer is really confirmatory. Yeah, the Pit Hag can also simulate that, but it's not a great character combo, even though they both look like snakes.
And then last, and sort of maybe most importantly, is Chambermaid requires the evil team to have bluffs that match their waking patterns. And other than Chambermaid and Snake Charmer, which, while an okay bluff, isn't necessarily the bluff a demon wants to take every time, there's no bluffs here that match the waking pattern of a Puka.
Yeah. And obviously, the Puka can't bluff Chambermaid to the Chambermaid.
Yeah, that would be awkward for the Puka to do.
So,
that.
like, since they can bluff unused Philosopher, I guess.
It's hard to build a bag, right? That's the problem, right? We're asking the storyteller to build a bag that works for the demon, and it's just hard because they just don't have something to.
Imp and Vigor have their 4 options here.
Yeah, there's options.
The other problem for Chambermaid here is, there is an Exorcist, which does something, I guess, but Chambermaid is spoiled by like the very different waking patterns of the BMR demons. The Puka that wakes up every night, the Zombo that wakes up semi-randomly, the Shabanpo wake up every night but can sometimes be stopped from waking by an Exorcist, gives like the Chambermaid information a lot of doubt.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's really just the Exorcist that's creating most of the waking pattern doubt. You really need a few more things for your Chambermaid. And this is, once again, circling this Flower Girl. Maybe this is a script that wants a Vortox.
Yep. Maybe this is a script that wants a Vortox. I think Chambermaid, when we look at BMR as a script on the whole, Chambermaid really explains why the demons have such complicated waking patterns. They have a very specific kind of synergy that works.
And Chambermaid is incredibly powerful. Like, Chambermaid is the only real information rule on BMR. It's the only one, and it's such a powerful type of information that it can largely carry the information load for an entire script by itself. Yeah, there's a grandmother. Yeah, gossips and gamblers get something resembling information, but it's really just the Chambermaid that's getting information on multiple players throughout the game. And the chambermaid is such a beast that it's fine. Like, that's enough information if you have good chambermaid information you can trust.
Yeah, it's really powerful. Chambermaid
Like,
is...
but you really need to think about what goes on your script with chambermaid.
Yep. All right, Emma, one more. And we're just about up to where we wanted to be.
Yeah. This is another script I really like.
Yeah, and for clarity, we like a lot of these scripts.
Yeah.
We're interested in playing a lot of these scripts, and it's probably not going to be an easy decision.
It has, some issues we've already sort of talked about a little bit. But there's one other thing we did want to talk about, because this was another thing that happened in a lot of scripts.
Yeah.
And it's an interaction that you're going to need to, especially if you're storytelling, think a lot about how to balance. If you're the good team, it's going to be real tricky. And that's these two lovely fellows. But to make the interaction clearer, let's turn this into a hookah. Let's kill a bunch of people I think we should have.
Yeah, that looks better.
Probably this many people alive. So the pit hag says, ooh, a bunch of people are dead. Let's turn my demon into a Poe, who always does this, because that choice matters, even though deaths are otherwise arbitrary.
And just to clarify really quickly, right, the pit hag goes before the demon. So the pit hag makes the Poe, and then the Poe gets a turn. Right, the Poe's tempo comes after the pit hag. So the pit hag makes the demon, and then that same night the Poe goes, I'm good. We're gonna charge up.
This is a night that starts with, say, 6 players alive, which in like a 7-player game can be night 2.
Yep.
So, now here's the storyteller's dilemma here, because this new Poe has been made, deaths are arbitrary. If the storyteller kills 0 players and town executes tomorrow thinking they're safe, evil wins. If they kill 1 player,
town has a shot at the demon, but they don't know that the demon is changed.
But if a skip is evil wins. Like, if they miss, evil wins. What the storyteller really has to do there is probably this.
Kill the pit hag,
yeah. And 2 good players to let the good team know, this is final day. Like, that's the only that's the signal that needs to happen when the pit hag makes a Poe with 6 players alive.
And that's really jarring on 6 players alive, and it can feel a lot kind of unfun. It can feel like a very
like
sudden,
as we said, on a 7-player game. This of course happened on night 2.
Night 2, yeah.
So you start the game, you execute someone on day 1. On night 2, the storyteller arbitrarily kills off half the remaining players, and then it's final 3 on day 2.
Yeah. So it's an interaction that is very powerful, and probably if you're building your bag, you really need to just not put pit hag in, because pit hag can do this at any moment in the game.
And it's always a threat of a pit hag. Like, it's just a demon and a minion that work particularly poorly together because of the pit hag's ability to accelerate the game using the Poe in this manner, effectively getting that triple kill without having to use the charge, because the storyteller has to kill 3 players off that pit hag demon change, and the evil team doesn't have to sacrifice a charge to get there.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much covered it. I mean, it's really powerful, and probably
it's really powerful. Yeah,
maybe Innkeeper and Mayor do something, but again, they have to be alive.
Just Innkeeper, Mayor.
Mayor doesn't do anything. Mayor just bounces to somebody else, so you still end up in the same situation. Yeah. Maybe Soldier helps this to some extent, but it's still really rough.
Soldier's not on. The Goon, I guess, helps, but that's not really the right use of an outsider.
It's just really
very
hard.
Rough. It's a very rough combo. Is Pit Hag Poe.
So,
does not say again. I dislike the script. One of those two probably needs to leave because of the ability of the Poe Pit Hag to get a free triple kill off. If the demon's always alive, but if the pit egg's alive on a night that starts with 6 or fewer players, it's effectively like a triple kill because the pit egg forces the storyteller to set it down to final 3.
Yeah. I think I think it's worth mentioning, since we've talked about a lot of scripts, I think it is worth mentioning that almost every script probably has one character that I've seen, at least in this competition, probably has one character that should be swapped out. Probably has one interaction that doesn't work. It's a hard competition.
Almost every script, I just want to very clearly make this point. This is such a script.
Yep.
These 2 characters.
This one looks really familiar, Emma. I think I've seen this before.
Sex and Violence. These 2 characters play very poorly together. Like, if the Nodashi poisons the Philo at the start of the game, and then it sort of like forces the demon not to move or become not a Nodashi, because it makes it very obvious what happened when the Philo stops waking up, even though they thought they were the town crier.
Mm-hmm.
This character and this character, famously problematic.
Yeah, those don't really work that great together.
This character and, well, everything famously problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but this is a, like, my dislike for the Clockmaker side. This is a problematic interaction. This is a problematic interaction.
We're gonna go through all of them, but TB, because TB's perfect, right?
No, like this character and this character don't actually play nicely with each other.
That's right.
Like the day 1 Undertaker for the day 1 execution is the most important for the Undertaker and the most like important for them socially and mechanically in the game. And when it's a virgin proc, it just sort of, well, there's the Undertaker confirming the player's good, sort of take it away from them. They've already confirmed themselves as good.
Can you put Investigator? You could put Investigator and Baron on.
Yeah. Investigator turns Baron into a townsfolk. It just tells you that there's 2 confirmed good players because they're the outsiders.
Yep. So,
like every script has, except for weirdly, I think this one. Like I was brought up the script briefly because I'm like, I'm sure I remember something. But no, all these characters are so problematic with almost everything. But like, it's such a fun. It's a house of cards where it should have collapsed several years ago, but somehow it manages to just cohere together into something beautiful.
But I mean, everybody's played. But then again, right? Everybody's played the game of BMR that where the courtier hits the demon on night 2, and suddenly you've got a no kills game of BMR where the demon just has nothing that they can do, and the evil team is desperate and scrambling, and it's a devil's advocate and a mastermind, and good just gets 3 days of free information to chase down, so
yeah.
It's tricky, Every script has something that doesn't work. Every script has something that doesn't work perfectly. So just because we've mentioned an interaction and it's on your script, just because we've mentioned your script and said, "Ooh, this is a problematic interaction," doesn't mean we don't like it, and doesn't mean we don't appreciate you all submitting scripts. And
except specifically to Walter, I would never play that script unless you take the gossip off.
Wow, Walter, she coming for you, and you even pandered to her by having a butler on your script. Wow.
He said some insulting things about the butler in his description, and he also had a gossip that had no business being there.
That's pretty reasonable.
Anyway, sorry for this one-off format change. Once again, this was brought us by us being lazy and not prepared. As we have more technical difficulties. If you don't like this alternative format, don't worry. It's probably never coming back.
We're going to try some different stuff in the future, because we are going to run out of
characters. If you do like this alternative format, let us know, and maybe it will come back.
Yeah.
Next week, we'll be back to our normal format. We actually have a sort of cool 2-week special series we're planning, where we talk about what to do when not only are you playing as a certain character, but that character was just released by the Pandemonium Institute in the past week or so, and you don't know how it works. So we're going to do some episodes focusing on brand new characters. So stick around for hopefully the 2 weeks after this one comes out, because we're planning to produce 2 of these next week.
Yeah.
And so then we have a bank to go through the holidays. But, we've missed some weeks lately, so we may fail again.
We're
Anyway,
gonna try not to keep failing. We're gonna try to get ahead by a little bit, and we're hoping to be back to not missing weeks in the new year.
Yeah.
Obviously, the holidays, will affect us.
May affect things, but yeah. Also, again, if you're really upset about this not being the normal format, it's just because we're lazy people. The normal format will be back.
Yep, we'll be back to our usual shenanigans of trying to trick each other with Grims next week with something should be fun and a little bit new. So until then, as always, may your scenarios be grim.